Hi guys, how you doing today? I wanted to give you a little lesson today on soloing over that famous tune that we all jam on most at some point in our bass playing lives, which is known as the Chicken, made famous of course by Mr. Pastorius himself. Now, as you know, the chord changes in the Chicken. You got a B flat dominant 7 4 bars, and you got E flat 7 for 2 bars. Then you got D7 for 1 bar, G7 for 1 bar, C7 for 3 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you got B flat 7 again for 4 bars before it cycles. So a 16 bar cycle. But how do you solo over it? Well, I think as a bass player it's good to know your chords, and this song is a very, very good example of how to... It helps you to learn dominant 7th voicings. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn the E string dominant 7th voicing and the scale that goes with it. E string dominant 7 voicing, we'll start with the first finger on the root note, and you'll have your second finger on the dominant 7th, which will be on the same fret but skipping a string, and then your fourth finger will play the major third, which will be 1 fret up on the next adjacent string. So in this case the B flat 7 is the 6th fret with the first finger of the E string, and then the 6th fret of the D string with the second finger, and then you're going to have your 4th finger on the 7th fret of the G string. You can also play that with your third finger, so you can alternate between the 3rd and the suspended 4th if you want to. Anyway, that shape can be used very effectively and just shifted around. Okay, so we're just going to deal with that shape and notes between it. So let's start. B flat 7, and we're going to play the scale that goes with that chord, which is mixolydian of course. But basically it's E flat major starting from B flat. So 6, 8, shift a string, 5, 6, 8, shift a string, 5, 6, 8, shift a string, 5, 7, 8. That pattern is the one we're going to use for every chord for now. So and then we move up to the E flat 7 after that. So as I was doing there, I was just breaking up the scale. I'm not keeping it in sequence. Okay, so you can do the same as well, just make some music with it. Then you're going to move your chord shape up to the 11th fret, and you're going to play in the same scale. Then you're going to move that down 1 fret to get the D7. And then don't worry about the G7, because D7 and the G7, it kind of just gives really a passing chord. You could also play a D flat 7 and just shift the whole shape down a semitone, and then that brings us to our C7. So that's going from the 8th fret. So there you go, and then you're back to your riff. back to the B flat 7. So, to recap what I'm saying here, is you're going to use this dominant 7th shape from the E string, and you're going to use the same scale pattern for each chord. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you an example of how soloing in those throughout the whole progression can sound. And I'm not going to, this time it's going to be very hard for me, because I'm going to try not to use any chromatics, and I'm going to try just to stick to the scale. The reason I'm doing that is for your sake. Really, if as intermediate players, the chromaticisms might not be all that clear to you yet. We'll look at that in the next lesson in this little series. Okay, so I put a chromatic in there. And then we're back to the head. To the C7. And then we're back to the top. Yeah, so I have a habit of just play. My fingers like to go through the chromatics and through the arpeggios. But that's stuff that you can do later on once you get used to just playing in the chord positions. That's what I like to call. I like to call the chord positions. You know, you can get some pretty interesting sounding solos just playing in the chord position and just playing in the mixolydian scale. You know, it doesn't mean that it's going to be uninteresting. It's not going to sound like bebop though, because bebop of course has all the chromaticisms in you know. So, but that's stuff that we can get into in the next lesson. I'm going to show you how to play the chromatic scales in the next lesson using the same chord positions. Okay, so let's just give you a breakdown of that. So what we've looked at today, we've looked at the chord progression from the chicken, and we've looked at just the E string dominant 7 voicing of the dominant 7 chord. So, and we've looked at this scale position, and what we're doing is we're shifting. We're shifting that through each position, and that's it. And one other thing that I might mention is that you do not have to play from the root note when you solo. As you will probably have noticed, is I would highlight the chord, but I won't play. I very rarely play the root note from the start. I usually start from the 3rd or the 5th. I don't start from the 4th though, because that kind of sounds harmonically a little bit strange usually. Although on a dominant 7th chord it's not too bad because of we get used to hearing the suspended 4th. So I mean, it's okay on a dominant 7th chord, but in general practice, for other chord types, it's not great to start from the 4th. Anyway, there you go. That is my lesson for intermediate players on how to solo over the changes for the chicken. So what I suggest you do is, if you have difficulty with this and keeping to the form, what I suggest you do is make yourself a backing loop. Alright, so have fun with that, and I'll see you for another lesson sometime soon. Bye.